What's going on, guys? Mickle here, and in this video I want to show you guys a new narrative I see being built behind the scenes around Ripple and XRP, and it's actually extremely bullish. In the United States, we have been surrounded by regulatory uncertainty for the longest time. Ripple has been begging regulators to provide clarity for the digital asset XRP, but to this day, we have seen nothing but enforcement. In this video, I want to show you guys something super interesting that I see being built behind the scenes that looks like it has the potential to provide clarity to a multi-trillion-dollar asset class that desperately needs clear-cut regulations. Hopefully, this will help you guys understand that despite the fact that we're currently in a tough spot with the SEC, there is something so much bigger being built behind the scenes, and it has Ripple and XRP's name written all over it. I also want to go over some new developments about why a settlement is highly likely rather than this Ripple SEC case pushing into 2023. Attorney Bill provided us with some new great analysis on this topic, and I think it's something you guys are definitely going to want to see. Last of all, guys, at the end of the video, I want to show you what I believe could end up being the SEC's biggest issue going forward, and it is not what you are expecting. Make sure you stick around for that. If you are new to this channel or come here all the time, please take a second to hit the like and subscribe button down below. It goes such a long way in helping to support this channel, and it means so much to me. If you guys are looking for a good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out the link in the description below. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I want to start this thing off and cover a new narrative that I see being built behind the scenes on Ripple and XRP that I think you guys are actually really gonna enjoy. As a member of the XRP community for a while now, it seems like we have always been surrounded by negative narratives and FUD. Well, I want to show you guys something being built behind the scenes by some of the most powerful regulators in the world that is actually extremely bullish for the status of XRP as we move into a new age financial system. Now, what really made me start digging into this was this tweet by Real Boy XRP, and he tweeted out that the BIS, and the BIS is the Bank of International Settlements, also commonly known as the Central Bank of Central Banks, said in one of its annual reports that effective regulation of digital coins is needed on a global scale. And something that I thought was really interesting were the specific words global scale. Because one of the things that is going to be critical to an effective regulatory approach to digital assets is a regulatory environment that expands and is consistent across every single major jurisdiction. It doesn't make sense for every country to have their own policy towards digital assets because digital assets move through the internet at the speed of light. They are not contained within borders, they are not contained within countries, and therefore it is almost impossible to impose separate and segregated regulatory policies on digital assets because you'd simply be reintroducing the same problem that digital assets look to solve. Instantaneous settlement all over the world and the removal of friction. Having a fragmented policy around this technological innovation not only would be very detrimental to the technology, but would be practically impossible to enforce in any meaningful way. Therefore, the best way to create a regulatory policy for digital assets is one that is all-encompassing and is consistent across the entire world. Therefore, I tweeted out that the BIS is pointing out that it makes zero sense to call XRP a security in the US when the rest of the world has already publicly recognized that it is not. End this sham of a lawsuit. What is the point of trying to call XRP a security in the US if the rest of the world has already said it's not? What, is XRP going to be not a security all over the world, and then magically whenever it enters a US territory, it suddenly becomes a security again? That doesn't make any sense, and the funniest part about it is you could get around the entire thing with something as simple as a new IP address. Calling XRP a security in the United States would instantaneously undermine any potential effort by these regulators to create a cohesive regulatory policy for digital assets worldwide. And I think this meme by Mac Attack XRP is a great visual representation on how absurd it would be if the US actually did try to call XRP a security. Take a look at this and you guys will understand how crazy it is that the SEC actually thinks it's a good idea for the entire world to call XRP a currency, and suddenly, as soon as it gets to the US, it becomes a security. It doesn't make any sense, but I think the important part is it looks like the United States might actually recognize this, and the SEC might be a rogue agency who's still trying to put it all together. Let me show you what I mean. If we take a look at the most recent executive order out of the White House, we can see a lot of similarities from what I was just talking about to what was actually in this executive order. And Real Boy XRP actually pointed out that there are many aspects of this executive order that actually look like they're directly out of Ripple's playbook. We know Ripple is constantly working with different regulators to form policy, but is it possible that Ripple is working with the US to form policy while getting sued by the SEC? Well, I want to show you a statement from this executive order and let you guys decide that for yourselves. Right here, directly from the executive order out of the White House, technology-driven financial innovation is frequently cross-border and therefore requires international cooperation among public authorities. This cooperation is critical to maintaining high regulatory standards and a level playing field. Uneven regulation, supervision, and compliance across jurisdictions creates opportunities for arbitrage and raises risk to financial stability and the protection of consumers, investors, businesses, and markets. So if you are thinking what I was thinking when I first read this, you were probably thinking, wow, that actually sounds like it might make sense. And it sounds like the SEC had zero involvement in creating this. Why is that? Because the SEC is convinced the United States should take a regulatory approach that is completely different and segregated from almost every other country and jurisdiction all around the world. And now it's time to blow your guys' mind. I want to show you guys what Ripple is pushing for, what Ripple is telling the different regulators, and I want you guys to pay very close attention to this word right here in the executive order, level playing field, because this word tends to come up a lot in how Ripple addresses the regulation of the digital asset space. I want to show you this quick clip, and I think you guys are really going to start to see the connections developing.
There has to be a level playing field, both for new entrants as well as legacy entrants. And I think that's really, that I think is a fair playing field for everyone to play within.
Like, why would we want this internet of value that puts everything on a level playing field? And there's a couple reasons. So one of them is we think we can win on a level playing field. XRP is faster and cheaper and perfectly positioned for the use case.
Well, I think that should make it fairly obvious who is driving the future narrative for the regulation of digital assets in the US. Ripple's vision for a level playing field is being put into place, while the SEC's idea of separate jurisdictions with independent regulatory frameworks looks like it is dying in front of its own eyes. I have no doubt for regulation of digital assets to be effective, it needs to be on a level playing field, it needs to be consistent across all the countries in the world, and it needs to provide the guidelines to help embrace the innovation digital assets bring rather than stifle it. Ripple's guidelines does exactly that, and it looks like that narrative is being put in place by the White House for the future of the United States' cryptocurrency regulatory framework. Last of all, I very quickly wanted to cover a tweet thread that Attorney Bill put out on Twitter. I thought it was super interesting, and essentially what he was saying is he believes now is the perfect time for the SEC to settle this case with Ripple, and he believes now is actually a time where Ripple would be willing to consider a settlement by the SEC. Why is that? Well, Ripple just had summary judgment pushed off for a very long time and now would have to wait until 2023 to win this case outright against the SEC. On the other hand, the SEC has a ticking time bomb coming down the pipeline, and that is the Hinman emails. They will have to hand those over eventually, and the longer they take to settle this case with Ripple, the closer they come to actually having to hand those things over. Now is the perfect point for the SEC to leverage the fact that Ripple will have to wait until 2023 to end this case outright, but also the perfect time for them to get out of ever having to hand over the Hinman emails. The SEC is in no doubt terrified of going to summary judgment because they could create a precedent for the rest of the crypto industry to follow in beating the SEC in any future lawsuits. The SEC needs to be heavily considering settling this case while they still have any leverage left, because if they push this thing on too long, their time leverage will disappear and they will end up taking a loss that is significantly worse than simply providing XRP the clarity it deserves in a settlement. And let me say, the SEC better be very careful about any future games they plan on playing, because John Deaton has blood in his eyes. He is pushing hard for an investigation. I think the SEC should be very careful about what they do going forward, because one thing I know, based on what I have seen out of Deaton, he will not give up until he has justice. And if I was the SEC, this might be what I am most worried about right now. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. Make sure to like and subscribe. It helps this channel out so much. I hope you all had a good weekend. And for now, Mickle out.